On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. He's one of the greatest interviewers on planet Earth. He was inducted into the Radio Hall of Fame and is a sports broadcasting legend. He may be intense and a polarizing figure, but he's as real and authentic as it gets. Just like me, he's reinvented himself, and he's the host of the unbelievable podcast, The Reinvention Project. He's just an overall juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific husband and father. Let's turn the tables on one of the best to ever do it. Please welcome the dynamic, energetic, focused, and re-energized, the juicy and spicy juggernaut, Jim Rome. How you doing,
My man? No way does anybody live up to that hype, much less myself. Man, what's up with you?
I'm laughing because I was having so much fun putting that together for you. We had so much fun when I had the honor of being on your podcast, and I couldn't wait to turn the tables. I'm a fan, and we've obviously struck up a friendship. So I'm excited to be here with you today, brother.
Greg, it's good. It's so good to be here. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, you want to plug into others that have that same kind of energy, that same kind of vibe. We feed off of that. So it is an honor and a privilege to be here, and I really appreciate the invite.
And when you say that vibe, you mean that kind of frequency that's like shot out of a cannon?
Yeah, you want people who are like-minded. You are who you roll with. You want people that are going to make you better. You want to make people around you who are better. You want to surround yourself with that good energy. You have that good energy. I want the people who are closest to me to feel that way, and I want to be able to share that with them as well. So yes, that vibe, that energy.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. We're going to have a lot of fun. I know you have your own show. You do a ton of these, but to start off, before we jump around a little bit, we're going to get a little weird. Ready for me?
Hit me.
Jim.
Weird is good. Weird is good.
Weird is the best. What is your superpower?
My superpower is that I know that I have no superpowers. I believe this. I really believe that is a superpower. The one thing I figured out early on in my life, Greg, and in my career, is that I really did not feel like I was that different or that unique from anybody. I had this ability to be very honest with myself. So early on, I figured out if I had any kind of advantage, it was that I really did not have an advantage, but I knew that. So, all right, think really hard. Where is your separation? Where is your separation? Initially, I could not answer the question, but I really feel like there was real power in not having an actual superpower. And I was very honest with myself always.
I got to tell you, I've interviewed some of the all-time greats, a lot of our mutual friends, Ed Milet and so forth. That's the greatest answer because it's so relatable, right? It basically, what it says to me is, I don't have a crazy, I'm not 6'10". I can't dunk a basketball, or I'm not lightning fast on the track. I got to grind and put in the work and not be outworked. And I think there's definitely something to be said for that.
Hey, listen, I figured this out early on. In fact, I think my big advantage was two things. Number one, I knew at an early age what I wanted to do. That's an advantage. Not everybody knows, and you can't force that, right? I mean, it took you a while to figure out this is where you want to be. You didn't know. You didn't know. I've got a son in college who kind of knows. I have a son in high school who has no idea. So my advantage was I knew early on exactly what I wanted to do and what price I was willing to pay. However, I did start to ask myself the hard questions. Why you? Why you? How are you different? Wait a minute. Newsflash, you're not different. You were not a pro athlete. You were not 6'4". You're not the best looking guy in the world. I don't really like my voice. I don't like the way I look. I'm not that different. So I really think there was an advantage in knowing that I did not have advantages, and I had to find a way to work through that.
That's relatable to me. You're on fire and you can't be stopped. The only thing I'm going to respectfully disagree with is you not being the most handsome cat in the world.
Well, top 1 million, maybe. I mean, how it is. Like, now that you've done this, and we all learn this, when you first get into it, and remember, since I've done this a long, long time, when you first hear your own voice, you hate the sound of your own voice. I mean, it must have taken me 3, 5, 10 years before I could get used to the sound of my own voice. And then I got a TV show, and I'm like, oh my God, I finally got used to how I sounded. Now what am I supposed to do with how I look? So I would disagree. No, I'm not a great looking guy. This is the appeal, I think, to me. Hate me, like me, want to fight me, listen to me. I am the average guy. I really am. I am the average guy. And I understand this. And I'm not being cute about it, but I was willing to go to battle every single day with what it is I have. And I realized what I did not have, and I worked on that.
I just want to say this. I think a superpower of yours also is just raw authenticity.
I think so. You got to be real, man. You got to be real. You have to be real, and people can sniff out stuff that's not real. And that was my thing. I knew that if I was going to get an opportunity, I had to be fearless and I had to be bold. but not be an a-hole. Be really authentic and be really smart and work at it really hard. Because if I didn't do it, somebody else would in fact do it. So be bold, be fearless, but be authentic and be genuine, because you got to respect the public. They know. They know. Do not disrespect those who are watching you and listening to you, because they will sniff out BS. They know.
You got to respect the audience. And just to touch upon what you said is straight up, let's be 100% transparent. Like I was trying to find myself at 35 years. I had success on Wall Street from a monetary standpoint, but I was a bit of a people pleaser and I wasn't my true authentic self. And when I reinvented myself, when I said, I'm going all in with this CLS stuff, I made one promise to myself, because I couldn't guarantee that it would work. Although I was confident to realize that whatever didn't work, I would learn, reapply, and so forth. But the one promise made to myself is I will be 100% real, raw, authentically Craig Siegel. And I realize that I won't be everybody's cup of tea or glass of whiskey. And it is what it is, but I can live with that. And life is so much more fun, Jim. I got to tell you, you know this because you've been authentic forever, but like, and the irony is the weirder and more strange I am, which I'm very weird and strange, like some of the words I use, the more real and the bigger the connection I form with the audience. If I only knew this back in the day.
I know, but at least you figured that out before it was way too late. You know, I'm trying to reinvent, and I'm considerably older to you, and I wish I had thought about this before. So better late than never. But I'm sure you would agree with this, Greg. It's never too late. It's never too late to start to work on these things. But to your whole point about the more weird I am, the more I seem to connect. I think there's something to that. I did figure this out. I figured out one way that I was different is that I was different, but not in a manufactured or contrived sort of way, but I was different. So the other thing that was really lucky in my career, although there was very limited opportunity, like I cut my teeth as a sports talk show host. Like some of your people may or may not know that. But when I broke in, and you're a New York guy, so you'll understand this, there was only one sports talk station in America, WFAN. So you can imagine there was almost no opportunity whatsoever. But the one thing that I did, as I was grinding on the way up, I would ask myself, if you ever get an opportunity, what are you going to do with it? What is the show going to be? And the thing that I figured out was, when I used to listen to sports talk radio as a young person coming up, I'm like, man, this is boring. There's no show. There's no entertainment. Man, this sucks, is what it is. What this is essentially is somebody with a gigantic voice who's spitting out a bunch of data. There's no show in that. There's no entertainment in that. If I get a show, I will do it the way I want to do it. And if it doesn't work, at least I'm going out on my sword, man. This is what I believe in. This is the content. This is the show. And I'm going to give it everything I have, and I'm going to let it rip. And I really believe it's going to work. But if it doesn't, at least I knew that I failed doing the show that I thought I wanted to do, and not a show that somebody else wanted me to do. I think that's what you figured out. That's why you're now your authentic self, and it's working because it's you. And if it doesn't work, it's like, all right, that's fine. But at least I went out, going out, doing what I believed in my heart was the right thing.
All right, that's where we dropped the mic, but we're just getting warmed up. And you just spoke to my soul, Jim. That's exactly 100% relatable to me. I made that promise to myself. At least I'll go out on my sword, and it is what it is, and I can live with that. But ultimately, it was very important for me that when I was going to step into this space, because like you attested to earlier, there's so much fluff out there. I was going to do it my way, and I was going to be unique, me, real, raw, and authentic. And I can kind of marry the process and divorce from the outcome. Obviously, it worked out.
I like that. Marry the process and divorce from the outcome. You know, there's something to it. You know, I hear this all the time, and it seems so cliche, but the process is the process, and you need to have a process, whatever that process is. But now you and me, we're all in this landscape. It's so weird. Like when I first got into it, there was no opportunity. And now there's unlimited opportunity, which makes it just as difficult because everybody has a platform and a show. If you have one of these, you have a show now. So there's this fierce fight to be seen and heard, you know, for the minds and body of the public. You know, how do you get them to listen to you? How do you get them to respond to you while not being contrived? It's hard, man. So it was hard when I got in because there was no opportunity. And now it's hard because there's so much opportunity. How do you cut through it? Where is your separation? I think we all need to ask ourselves that every single day.
Yeah, it's great points, Jim. But it's funny because it's all about perspective, right? Like when I was going to step into this space, I did see saturation, but my thought process was this, and this isn't like an arrogant thing because I didn't know how I was going to turn out, but there's always room for the best.
Yes, there absolutely is, because it's got to be somebody, right? Why not you? Why not
Why
you? Why
not
not
you?
me? Why not you? Why not me? Why not anybody watching right now? But again, do the hard work. Do the hard work on yourself. Do the hard work on your craft. Why not you? It's not, I mean, yeah, why not you? It sounds great, but give me a reason why you too, right? Why different? How are we different? You had to take a shot. You gave up a high paying job. It had to have been pretty scary. You didn't know exactly what you were getting into. You got to be bold. I can remember like something else, Craig, that was really good for me was when I came up, we were all fighting for the same thing. And when we all got out of college, we're all so naive. Keep in mind, there's no social media, there's no internet, and we all had the same dreams. Like, we're going right to the top. We're going right to New York. We're going right to LA. Why not you? But then when you get into it and then you get into the real world, some of your friends are making money and maybe they went to Wall Street or maybe they got a sales job and it's starting to work out, but we're stuck in these small markets and we're trying to fight our way out and it's not happening. Then people give in. Then people say, you know what? It was all just a pipe dream. What was I thinking? That's not real life. Then they start to give in. And I was off to the side saying, all right, there's also separation in that. I can win. It's a war of attrition. And it's not up to me to know how long I got to keep banging on doors. And even though I was in sales and was terrible, man, I sucked. I was horrible at sales. But what I did learn was it is a numbers game. And it's not how many no's, it's how many yeses. And all you need is that one big yes. If you stay in the fight long enough and you bang on enough doors, one of them will open up. So it is a war of attrition as well. So yeah, why not me? Why not you? But there's more to it. There has to be a good reason as to why it should be you.
100% nailed it. And it's interesting because all the greats, yourself included, like a lot of people, I always ask the question I'm about to ask you, which I'm super excited for. I always ask them because everybody says a different answer, usually depending upon the different season of life that they're in. I'll say, what's your definition of success? And if I had to pick one common ingredient amongst all the greats, they say is I didn't give up.
Yeah, I think there's something to that. And my definition of success is changing. I'll be honest with you. Like
Same.
when I was in college, my feeling was I just want to work for a network. I was obsessed. I want to work for a network, one of the over-air networks, because again, that's how it was. There was not that explosion of cable yet. And I thought that was, quote, success. Then I thought if I could be in the business 10 years, that would be success. And then you get older and you evolve and you mature. And then your definition of success is different. But I think you're right. I think that's one good way. Just be fearless. Do not give up. Get up every single day and grind. And my new mission right now, like my mission, the thing that gets me out of bed is, and I think you and I have talked about this, I hit a point in my life where I realized this clock is spinning so fast and it's terrifying. It really is scary to me. I was always like, on the way up, I was the youngest guy interviewing people older than me always. And then I started to interview people younger than me. And now I interview their kids. And then I've got a kid in college and a kid in high school. I'm like, oh my God, the clock is spinning so fast. How do I slow this down? I need to be more present. I need to be more present. I need to appreciate things more. And then I thought to myself, all right, so where do you fit in? How can I make the next 25? Okay, this is another thing. My son said to me one day, hey, Dad, back when you were a big deal. I'm like, bam, that was sobering. Back when you were a big deal. Back when you used to be a big thing, Dad. So then it hit me, all right, can I still be a big thing? Can I still be the best thing? Whatever that is, can my best 25 years be in front of me, Craig, and not be behind me? Why the hell not? But I need to reinvent myself because if in fact my best life's in front of me, I need new tactics, new strategies, a new mindset, because doing the same things I've always done is not going to help me get there. In fact, you and I know this, right? It really is true. Either you're getting better or you're getting worse. And I looked in the mirror one day, I'm like, dude, are you really getting better? I'm not. I'm still in the fight. I'm still grinding. I'm still on the air. I'm still trying really hard, but I'm not getting better. And if I'm not getting better, I'm getting worse. So how do I make the next 25 my best 25? That's my new definition of success. How do I figure this out? And how do I not give up or give in and keep battling and grinding and make sure standard over feelings? When I can finally accept, and I know that it's always standard over feelings, that to me is success now, because then I'm in control of my mind and my thoughts and my process. Standard over feelings. That is my new definition and challenge for success. Standard and mind over feelings. It doesn't matter how you feel, you do it. You know the standard, you adhere to the standard, and you do not give in.
Sacrifice.
That's it. And it just, I mean, it doesn't matter how you feel. So what I did was I took this, and this is not an original thought. You and I know this. Much of the guys that we're friends with, people, And we adhere to standard over feelings. So what I did was, that's great. That's like this nebulous concept. I try to apply a bunch of mini standards throughout my day and my life. Standard over feelings. The standard is you get your ass out of bed at 4:45. You get to the office by 5:30 a.m. to be on the air at 9. That's the standard. I don't care how warm that bed is, how good it feels. Get up. I got to work out. I'm not going to be like you, stud like you, but I got to get an hour in every day, whatever that hour is, man. Cardio, a little bit of weights, whatever it is. The standard is an hour. It doesn't matter how tired you are, how crappy you feel. Get the hour in. The one standard that I don't do well on, I lose, is the pantry. The pantry's right there, dude. It's calling my name all the time. Snacks, desserts, the standard. Do not eat sugar. Do not eat dessert. Standard over feeling. Yeah, but my body's telling me I need it. I deserve it. I'm fatigued. Standard over feeling. This is my new definition of success. Winning the fight of standard over feeling.
This is gripping stuff. And for the audience, listen, we just did a million strong guys. Like, what are your non-negotiables, right? Standard over feeling. What are you not willing to negotiate with? Hitting snooze in the morning, for example.
See, that's the whole thing. And I go back to my first point. I was able to negotiate the price that needed to be paid to make it in the business. I can remember very clearly in college, I had a roommate say to me, dude, we would have never asked you to live with us if we knew you were never going to be here. And I didn't know that was part of the contract. I'm like, and where was I? I was at the radio station. I could already negotiate things with myself that others were not willing to do. Like, Craig, I was the guy that was so terrified that somebody else would beat me to an internship that I used to work for free and get up at 4 a.m. to do the internship in Santa Barbara before the morning classes. Nobody even wanted morning classes. Nobody wanted that 8 a.m. class, but I was the guy that would get up at 4 a.m. and work for free and put in 3 hours to get the line on the resume before the 8 a.m. class. And not only was that not hard, I never felt better about myself, man. My self-esteem was soaring. I was on track. I was on path. And that was the price that I was willing to negotiate. You want it? Prove it. Negotiate that price with yourself. And I figured that out at an early age. That negotiation thing with yourself, super necessary.
Yes, this is straight up gold. And for the audience listening, like, in case you guys want to do a background story, if you're not familiar with Jim, go check out his stuff, go check out his content and so forth, and become familiar. I think what's most valuable right now is just this straight up unbelievable dialogue. This is what's going to leave the biggest impression with the audience. And just a couple of things that you're talking about, like, you have that eye of the tiger right now, Jim. And I didn't see you a couple of years back when you looked in the mirror and you said, am I getting better? Maybe not. But right now, it's very obvious that you look juiced. You look obsessed with reinventing yourself. When your son said, your dad, remember when it used to be a big deal? And in your head, you're like, I still have another grand slam in me, or another home run, so to speak. You have that eye of the tiger right now.
I really appreciate you saying that. I think that's really high praise and really high respect. And I'm still trying to prove something. I have a chip on my shoulder still yet. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No.
You know, I mean, everybody's running on a different kind of fuel, right? Some people are running on a fuel where they're trying to prove others wrong. Some people are trying to prove others right. My feeling has always been, maybe it's because I'm just the average guy, but my feeling has always been nobody ever accomplished anything great without a chip on their shoulder. And I don't mean you're coming from a place of negativity or hate, but you need that chip, whatever it is. And I just know that I was happiest in my life when I had this obsession and this vision of the life that I wanted. I would walk around on my campus in college, and I literally, Craig, could lose hours in a dream state when I didn't really understand what that was. And I know you study this and you do understand this, but I kept turning it over in my mind, and it was getting more and more clear and brighter. And the image was just right there. Like, I want this so badly, and I'm working towards something. And you know what was great? The decisions started to make themselves. I started to realize if this is an action or a thought that's going to move me closer to that thing that I'm obsessed with, do it. But if it's not, don't. And it wasn't hard. And I was so happy because I was obsessed and I had a mission and I was moving towards it. But then you get it. Then you get it, right? Then you get it. Then you're in the game, and then you're in the game for a long time. And then I wake up, and then my kid's saying things like, back when you were a big deal. Or here's another one. Here's another one. And people mean this in the best way possible, but I hear this a lot. I'm going to be very transparent with you and very real.
Please.
I had a TV show back in the day on ESPN that you probably knew me for called Jim Roman's Burning. Very popular show at the time.
One of my
And
personal
people say to
favorites.
me, okay, thank you very much. But then people come up to me now and say, hey, man, I grew up watching you on TV. Hey, man, I love Jim Roman's Burning. What do you do now? What's going on? What do I do now? I'm busting my ass every bleeping day now. But I don't want to hear that I knew you from that show. I want to do something great again. I have that chip on my shoulder again. And I want to send this message to everybody, my family, my friends, the people who love me, the people who hate me. I'm still here, yo. I'm still here, and I'm here to battle, and I'm here to win and to get mine and to do it authentically and honestly. But I'm not going away. And one day they will, and it's not even an ego thing. I just want to grind and work and succeed and figure out the puzzle. And one day they will rip that mic out of my hands and they will say to me, hey, old man, you had a good run. We don't care anymore. But I'm doing my very best to kind of Heisman, like, I'm trying to keep you at bay. I don't want that day happening anytime soon. So yeah, I want to have not only a chip on my shoulder, but a boulder on my shoulder. And I want it badly. And I want to send off that vibe. Hey man, you can't run me off. I'm still trying, and I'm trying hard. And I want to send that message to my kids, man. Yo, man, the reason y'all have a pretty good life, kids, is because Pops went to battle and is still battling.
Yeah, he is a gladiator in his arena, and so many things to unpack there. Number one, another trait of the greats are the people that I like to surround myself with, just like you were just testing to. It's like, it's that mindset that we've never arrived, right? We're never really complacent. Maybe it's a gift or a curse, because I know something that I personally need to work on is celebrating smaller milestones.
Yes.
Because whenever I hit one, it's on to the next target. I need to do a better job of that. But also, I think the smart money, actually, I know the smart money says your best 25 is ahead of you, Jim.
I hope so. You know, that by the way, that's the plan, because why else get up in the morning? We need a reason to get up, right? You have to have a mission. You have to have purpose. You have to have a mission. I'll tell you what, and Craig, again, I'm older than you, so I'm seeing this, and it scares me. I have friends that are retiring, or I have friends that would like to keep battling, but they're being forced out. The world's hard right now, and nothing's given to anybody, man. We have to scratch and claw and battle and fight for everything. So it's really important to stay in the fight. And to your point, and I think it's really important, we want to fight, we want to battle, we want to compete, we want to win. We need to appreciate the wins. I'm telling you, there's so many things that were so amazing about my life that, frankly, I don't want to have regrets. And I do have a couple of regrets. I regret that I didn't slow down, because it was always like, let's go. And you know what? That vacation was amazing. I should have been more present for that. Or that experience there was so incredible. Why did I not appreciate that more? Because I assumed it, because I thought that's what it was supposed to be, because I was on to the next thing. There's a real fine line between going hard and battling and being strategic about the future, but being present and making sure that you drink it all up and that you don't let it go without appreciating what you earned and what you have.
Yeah, because otherwise, what's the point, right? And again, just to be completely transparent and clear, it's something I'm definitely working on. It is taking a moment to just say, let's just sit for a second and just reflect this milestone before it's on to the next one. And there were times in the past where I didn't even stop for a second. And it was such a big goal. It was hit. And then right away, the target just moves back. And that's no fun either for the audience.
Man, you know what? And you can't go back. And that's sad. And it's sad. And frankly, what we don't want to do is get hooked and be like, I can't go back. Why didn't I? Well, you can't go back. You cannot go back. Always forward, never back, which is why, and it took me longer to figure out than I wish it would have, but I now know it. I know you can't go back. So now that if the best 25 are in front of us, let us make sure that we appreciate everything about that 25. So you don't go back and say, man, because who doesn't want to go back? We don't give anything to go back and appreciate that moment more. But now that we know this, let's stay in the moment and be present and appreciate everything and battle and be tactical. It's a fine line, man. Like, look, these things take time to figure out. Some people figure them out at a very early age. Some people never, ever figure them out. And I'm still trying to figure it out, but I've got a better understanding now than I did before.
Same. And we're under construction. This is a tremendous conversation, straight up. And I know when you were going to start this podcast to kind of go down this journey or step into another arena, I've heard you say before, was I going to call it the midlife crisis? So you went with the word reinvention. project. How powerful is that word? That's exactly what I did, right? I had an 11-year career on Wall Street where, if I'm being 100% transparent, it was soul sucking. And I don't even think I was alive. I was just existing towards the end. And then I reinvented myself, burned the ships, as we say, and started CLS. And it obviously worked, and I'm very grateful for. But like, what did I really do there? Like, if you look back, is I reinvented myself and my mindset. And I went from being stuck essentially to being unstuck, and realizing that there is a whole other life ahead of there. And it's people like coming out of a divorce or relationship or a business, whatever the case may be, like reinvention is right around the corner if you allow yourself.
I think you're right. I think that when I first came up with this concept, there were a lot of people in my industry that heard that. And they're like, wait, what? Wait, what? Rome, reinvention? What does that mean? And I think that they thought that maybe it was a new show or a new genre or a new way of content. I never really saw that about that, because although the podcast that you're talking about, the Reinvention Project, is something different than what I do every single day. Like you and I wanted to do it for so many reasons, but one of the reasons was to have conversations like this. My man, I love you, but you're probably not going to be on my daily sports talk show. However, if I have the Reinvention Project, I have a way to you, and we have a way to connect with each other. So that was one of the reasons I wanted to do that. Your reinvention to me was a really different reinvention than mine. I mean, you really reinvented yourself from one industry to another completely. My reinvention was more about mindset. I wanted to kind of figure out a way, and I think you know this better than me, and I'm not even sure the exact tactics, but can we rewire our minds? Can we find a way to retrain our minds? I've been thinking in a similar manner for a very, very long time, and it's foolish to think that I'm going to change dramatically unless I figure out a new way to process information and think about things. And the way I wanted to do that was to meet new people, to read different books, to have different experiences, and to kind of rewire my mind. And I thought that would also rejuvenate me, reinvigorate me. So that's where my reinvention is. It really is a reinvention of mindset, because once we change our mindset, then we change our actions. And once we change our actions, then we change our results. And then once we change our results, if we keep doing this day after day after day and we stack it all up, what do you know? We ended up all the way over there. How did that happen? Because we started with a new mindset, which led to everything else. So my reinvention really is not so much about career, or, I mean, part of it's physical, right? I will tell you this. I am at the same weight that I was in high school. I'm proud of that. And I'm not where I want to be, but yeah, you know, that's part of it, right? You got to show up a certain way physically. So I'm trying to reinvent myself, not in a way like you did from Wall Street to this. I'm still doing a sports talk show, but I'm trying to reinvent the way I see the world and the way I process information.
Isn't that so powerful that you can do that? You could reprogram your mind. You could actually change your perspective. You could replace disempowering thoughts with empowering ones. Crazy.
Can I tell you something?
Please.
I'm not where I want to be in terms of that, but that's the goal, man. That is it. Like this whole thing, I so believe in this, because I talk to athletes and coaches all day long. Everybody's talking about, you know, body type and rest and recovery and nutrition and workout. You and I both know this. What is the most powerful muscle in the body, man? It's what's between the ears. So Definitely. How is it that, like, I'm killing myself on my Peloton, you're running marathons, and these are important things, because the other thing from doing this podcast, which I've learned, Craig, it's really important. Choose hard. Everything good is on the other side of hard. You have to choose hard. But at the same time, we're working on these muscles, which is good because we need energy and we need stamina to achieve our goals. But man, the most important muscle is the one right here. How do we develop that muscle? That's the one I'm still trying to figure out. And, you know, there are a lot of trainers for that. It's a different kind of training, isn't it?
100%. The biggest breakthrough that I ever had was when I stumbled upon personal development right out of college, when I was a little bit lost in the wilderness, and I ended up on Wall Street, and I started looking at YouTube videos for inspiration. And I know you're a diehard fan of some of the Navy SEALs. I've heard you talk about Goggins and so forth. And I came across these videos, Jim, and I was like, wait a minute. Where I'm at right now is not a life sentence. I could actually change, like, my map of the world, my perspective. I could develop confidence. Like, I could learn how to learn. That changed everything for me.
So I got a question for you. So did you flip the switch, or was that a process? And then how long did it take? I'm sure you will tell me it's ongoing. Obviously, it's like it is a muscle. You have to keep training the muscle like any other muscle. But how long did it take once you realized that before you saw real progress and a real change in mindset and perspective?
That's a phenomenal question. And just to be clear, like it's one thing to be physically fit, guys, for the audience listening, but being mentally fit is what it's all
Yes.
about. And Jim nailed it. I work on this every single day of my life. Number one, it's part of the job. But number two, sharpening the axe is how I improve and become a better person each and every single day. In regards to your question, as soon as I discovered, at the time it was NLP, neuro linguistic programming, and reprogramming the brain and all that stuff, and I could change my mindset, I started to have changes happen pretty quickly. It was pretty fascinating to me. Like, I know there's a big misconception that change takes so long, but really, if you understand this mindset stuff and what you associate pain and pleasure to, you can make pretty quick changes. And that opened up everything for me, not just in business, but something, I don't think I've ever publicly said, is something as goofy as having the courage to approach a pretty girl at the bar, because I developed confidence by modeling some of the greats, such as 007 James Bond. I removed my limiting beliefs and thinking, and I started thinking, what would that guy do? And I started to develop confidence on command. And that opened up everything for me pretty quickly.
I don't think that's goofy at all, by the way. I know I'm going to catch myself before I tell this story. So I'm just not going to tell it because the guy will know I'm talking. Now, the only reason I can't is because the guy will know and it will hit him the wrong way. But I know guys, frankly, and people, frankly, that should have all the first of all, nobody is what they seem. Let's be real about that.
Correct.
Let's be very real about social media. I'm not talking about you or me. I'm talking about a lot of what's out there. I think like Goggins said it best, man. People are so messed up. People are so messed up. People just have a better way of hiding it than other people. All right. I think that a lot of us are walking around like, man, I got issues, but everybody else has got to figure it out. And almost nobody's got to figure it out. We all have issues. But to your point about when you figured out I could go up in a bar and approach the prettiest gal or prettiest person in that bar, not be afraid, and there was real power in that, there's something to that, yo. There is something to that. I know guys that should not have that confidence that have more confidence than anybody ever. And what that means is they will take big swings every single day. They keep coming. They're relentless. And I know other people that look great and sound great and they're so smart and they just have nothing to be afraid of. They will never take a swing, man. They will never dig in. They will never even get up to the plate because they just don't do it. There's something to that, man. That mindset of what's the worst that can happen? No, okay, I'll keep moving and ask something else. It's action, man. Massive, aggressive action. Not how many no's, but how many yeses, and one yes can change everything. So I don't think that's goofy at all. I think if you got the balls to walk up to anybody, anywhere, in any room and strike up a conversation and connect and network, there is value and power in that. That's not goofy at all to me.
For sure. And thank you so much for that acknowledgement. I'm going to go ahead and receive that. And what's so special about that story is, believe it or not, this might surprise you, but I'm actually shy and introvert by nature. Right. But when I started stepping into the personal development space and so forth, I understood that a means to an end was to put myself out there, to start becoming comfortable being uncomfortable, so to speak. And so just as like when I learned years back how to develop confidence on command, and instead of being nervous of going up to a girl and her maybe rejecting me, now I didn't think about the what if negative. I thought of what if positive. What if she says yes? What if we go on a couple more dates? What if it's a great experience and so forth? And for the audience listening, I think that's so valuable because what we're trying to land here is that you can make pretty big, significant changes in a short amount of time once you commit.
Once you commit, and as long as you believe it, and you and I both know, I think anybody listening knows this, the people who can consistently get themselves to do things that they do not want to do will win. Of course, nobody wants to be rejected. Of course, that hurts. But I'm telling you, it's the people, you know, there's certain people that nothing sticks to. Then nothing sticks to, man. They're just fearless. They just keep coming. They are relentless and they're not afraid of being rejected. And I think you're right. There's a flip, right? There's a mindset. And I like your point about what you associate pain and pleasure to.
Yep.
As long as it's not a Jedi mind trick, right? As long as you really understand it and commit to it and you're not lying to yourself and conning yourself. I think that's so important, man. You have to be brutally honest with yourself and do the hard work. Like, I'm kind of caught between these two worlds, Craig. Like, there's the one thing about how you always hear, if I can get 1% better every single day, I buy that. I get that. There's a multiplier effect to that. But there's a part of me that also, Drew Hanlon is a basketball skills trainer. He's in the space too. And he talks about shocking the system. I kind of like that too. And I'm not sure how you go about that. But his whole thing is, hey, man, why? when he trains NBA players, his argument is, I need to get them as good as they can possibly be, as quickly as I can possibly get them there so they can get to that next contract. We need to shock their system. Part of me is fascinated by that too. So I think you need both. You need the consistency of showing up every day and getting a little bit better every day. But every once in a while, man, I want to find a way to shock the system. Not a shortcut, not a hack, but just how do I shock my system? Yeah. I like that idea. I like that idea.
Hell yes. And I'm laughing because I just love you. The only negative I got going on right now is we don't have 10 hours to chat. This is straight up unbelievable.
Leave them wanting more. Leave them wanting more, dude. You don't want 10 hours of me. I don't want 10 hours of me. Believe me, man. I got to get away from me most of the time. So no, but I feel you though. I appreciate that.
Yeah, there's just such a great connection and so much value for the audience. One thing that we both often talk about, which is a little bit trendy, is burning the ships. And it's interesting because in the personal development space, I have a lot of clients that, for example, they're budding entrepreneurs, right? They have a day job that sucks in their opinion, and they want to step out and do something else. And the whole big thing is do they keep that steady paycheck while they're trying to get the other thing up and running, or do they cut the cord, leave first base so they could shift all their energy to second? I personally had to do the latter. I had to leave and shift all my attention, energy, and burn the ships. This is what's happening, or I'm literally going to die trying, or I'll be out in the street. What are your thoughts on that?
It's interesting, right? I don't want to tell people to do things where they can't put food on their table, or they can't pay their rent. I want to be very careful about that. I think, Gary Vee was always really big on that, right? Like the 7 to 12 hours, like you have your job, you have your life, you do what you do, but there's so many hours at night. Why not chase that side hustle? I will tell you this. When I ultimately won, Craig, here, I'm going to try and condense the story for you. I knew exactly what I wanted. I had 7 internships in college, and then I had one bad experience at a radio station my senior year of college, and I thought that I got jammed. I thought they screwed me. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I'm not in control of my own destiny. That's not fair. I deserve that job. I was promised that job. I didn't get it. So I went off in a funk, and I pouted, and I went to my dad. My mom and dad had a family business, and I said to my old man, I want to work for the family business. Let's do this. He says no. He says no. I said, wait, whoa. Legacy, my man. What father does not want their son to follow in their footsteps? He's like, me? Because you never once expressed any interest in the family business ever? The answer is no. You cannot work for the family business. A tough Boston guy, my dad. But I wore him down. I spent like 9 months wearing him down because the one thing I did have that he never understood about me, and he told me so, this drive. He's like, I don't know where you got that drive from. You didn't get it from me. So I wore him down. Of course, he was right. He fired me. I failed miserably, and I was terrible at it. So he says, my parents owned a company where they manufactured high-tech garments. And my dad would sell like industrial laundries. He'd go to hotels. He would go to hospitals. I hated it. He loved it. He loved everything about it. He fires me with love. Because I learned it at the family dinner table every night. Business is business. Business is business. I love you. You're my son. You're not good at this. You're fired. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to go into sales. He's like, I just fired you because you can't sell. I said, no, because I know everything. I can't sell your product. I will sell somebody else's product. He's like, good luck with that. I tried to sell dictation equipment. I quit after 39 days. I tried to sell phone systems. My boss says, you're not good at this. You're not good at this. I'm like, wow, my life sucks. And this gal says to me, who I work for, she's like, all you do is talk about radio. Go back to radio. You should have never quit in the first place. So to the burn the boats point, when I got back into it, since I had had such a miserable existence outside of it, at that point, I didn't care how long it took. I knew I had to burn the boats. I had to set them on fire. I had to take quitting off of the table. There was no way out. You stay in that fight because you cannot get off the island. You have to fight your way off the island, and I will fight my way off the island, and that's what I did. And I focused on this one radio station in San Diego, 690 AM, and I sent letters and resumes, and I busted them with telephone calls for over 2 years, every single week. And when somebody didn't respond, I found somebody else in the organization, and I pitched them because I had no way out. There were no boats. Everything was set ablaze. I was stuck on that island and had to fight my way off it. And I did. There's something to it, man. To burn the boats. And I don't mean as a figure of speech. I mean, it's a lifestyle. You go all in. You
Oh,
burn the
yes.
bleeping boats.
This
You
is
burn them.
first of all, the way you tell the story, Jim, so compelling, so unbelievable, but it's a paradigm shift. And for the audience listening, like, I don't know if you guys ever seen the last Batman film, The Dark Knight Rises, the Christian Bale movies. He has to get out of a cave and he keeps trying to do it with the rope, and he keeps failing. And then finally he realizes, I got to do it without the rope because I have to leave the safety net behind. To my mindset.
Right.
He makes the jump, and that always stuck out to me. It's always such a big moment. As long as subconsciously there's, and again, I'm with you. Like, I don't want to tell anyone to leave a job and not be able to put food on the table. I don't want to be responsible for that. But there's something to it. Like, as long as there's a little bit, even 1% of a safety net, it takes away a little bit of that urge, like that never quit, never surrender mentality. Because if you fall, you have something there. There's definitely something to that.
Can I say one more thing too?
Please.
And I learned this on the way up. And I don't know if I mentioned this already today, but just to reiterate this, I knew for a fact the people I was competing with, there were people smarter than I was. There were people more talented than I am. They were just better. They just were better. But I also realized better doesn't always win. The best team doesn't always win. Sometimes it's the hottest team. Sometimes it's the healthiest team. Sometimes it's the most courageous, grittiest team. And I saw this on the way up, Craig. There were guys who said, you know what? It's not meant to be. I'm going to take a job at a bank. I'm going to take a job in sales. I'm not going to make it. And I dug in. And I know for a fact, and I'm not trying to be a D about it. I know there are guys that I was with that are looking at me right now saying, I know I'm better than him. I knew I was better than him, but man, he stayed in. Rome hung in and he gutted it out. He burned the boats. I'm just here to tell you, I came up with guys, good friends, people that I loved. They just were better, man. I know they were. They were smarter. They had better voices. They had more natural ability, but they did not stay in the fight. They gave in. It took me leaving and getting my ass kicked in sales to figure it out, but I figured it out. Stay in the fight. Yeah, stay in the fight. It's a war of attrition.
That's it. Two unbelievable traits right there that come to mind. Number one, heart. Number two, grit. Right?
Grit is everything. Grit is everything. Grit is, you want to know what? There's your magic power. There's no secret. Grit is the magic power. Gritty. And I'm still trying to develop grit. Grit to me is a magic power. The most successful people I know are the grittiest people because they're the most consistent people, dude. If you only work when you feel good, you're not going to have a whole lot of success in this world. You have to find a way to grind through it. Like you came from Atlanta back to New York and it's late on a Friday and you're still grinding. Now you would say to me, dude, this didn't even work. I get that, but there is responsibility.
Sure.
And you didn't have to do it. But I take back what you said. My magic power, I thought, was that I don't have magic powers, but there is a magic in grit.
This is a breakthrough. We got a breakthrough right now.
Yes. I mean, I knew it, but you had to remind me of it.
Yeah,
There's something to it, man. Grit.
So now let me ask you this. For the audience that's listening, like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Can you learn grit? That's great. Ed, we all drop Ed Milet's name because we all love Ed, man. Ed's like the guy. But when Ed actually put it in my head, I went on his podcast. He asked me on his podcast, and he said to me when I walked off, he's like, I got to tell you something, man. You're pretty good at this. Like, you maybe should explore this further. And I said, Ed, I've always wanted to explore this space further because, like you, when I was in high school, I was reading Napoleon Hill. Like, I used to think about this stuff in high school even. So I like that. But on Ed's podcast, we talked about nature versus nurture. I'm fascinated by this whole thing about, can you learn grit? How much of this success is because we are hardwired and we are talented? And then how much of it is nature, your environment, who you surround yourself with, the messages that you've been hammered into? Yeah, I think you can learn grit. I really do. But I think you learn grit, my own personal opinion, my amateur opinion, by choosing hard. If you keep putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and you continue to overcome, you get a little tougher and a little tougher and a little tougher. And then grit becomes kind of a way of life, right? But you have to do things that are hard. You cannot look for the path of least resistance. So I'm going to say, yes, you can learn grit. I don't think we're born with grit, right? I don't think there's a good, like, DNA is DNA. I don't think there's grit in there that I know of. I think you can learn grit. And one of my biggest fears was too, like, I'm not a Rockefeller. However, I worked really hard and we had a pretty big house on the top of the hill. And my biggest fear was the kids are not going to learn grit. They're not going to learn grit if we do everything for them.
They have to learn to battle, because while the world is an amazing place, it is a hard place. We need to learn grit. You can learn it.
This is unbelievable. And for the audience and the listeners, like resilience, right? Like, how do you build that? You lean into the obstacles, the challenges, the adversity. And every time you don't die, you become a little bit more resilient and you cultivate grit. And that's absolutely priceless.
Can I tell you that does not kill me makes me stronger? You know, I had a guy, he passed away, but the first Navy SEAL that I met, and this was long before I ever knew about Jocko or Goggins, was a guy named Richard Makowitz. And Mac was an incredible guy. He was a Navy SEAL, and he wrote a book long before guys were writing books like this. I read Mac's book in, I want to say, the late 90s. And he had a Navy SEAL saying, "Not dead, can't quit, not dead, can't quit, not dead."
I read that book. I read that book.
And Mac was like, he was the fiercest, toughest guy I ever met. And much like a lot of the SEALs, you would look at this guy, maybe 5'11", you know, maybe 175, 180, of course, a black belt in everything. Like, he trademarked his own discipline. But you would look at this guy and you just knew you didn't want any part of this guy. You did not want to mess with this guy. You just knew. And he was a sweet guy, but he was fierce. But he used to hammer that into my head. Not dead, can't quit. He was the first guy that told me, take a cold shower every single morning, which, by the way, Craig, I don't do. I don't know about you. I don't do it. I'm like, it sounds like the most horrible thing ever. Why would I do that? And Richard Makowitz said to me, because, and I quote, "It will cut a toughness groove in your brain." I said, "Wait, what? Say that again?" He goes, "It will cut a toughness groove in your brain." This is how you learn grit, right? By doing hard, uncomfortable things and doing them over and over and over again. And then you show up a certain way, but you got to keep doing it.
Jim's got nuggets. My next keynote has to be about this. This is unbelievable stuff. Like, chasing the hard stuff, cultivating that grit. Unbelievable and so beautifully articulated. And again, I know you don't want to spend 10 hours with you, but I would love to. But I know we're getting towards the end here, so we'll land the plane with these final two ones. I'm very curious because I know that, like you said earlier in the conversation, you're not necessarily the most talented. There are people that were better than you. How much attention and detail and effort do you put into preparation?
Yeah, I work so hard. And I don't want any points for that. I'm just telling you, I think the biggest compliment, first of all, I'm surrounded by very good people. Very good people. I have been well produced my entire career. I've been very fortunate that way. So I don't want you to think that I'm a guy that shows up, cracks open the mic, and just goes for 3 hours every day. And this is a one-man crew. I am surrounded by very good people. That's important. The other thing is, my only edge, I was committed to that grind. I could get up every single day for 30 years and show up for a radio show that starts at 9 a.m. and be in the office at 5:30 a.m. to prep that show, host the show, and then when the show ended, I could pick up the process again, go home, work out, make sure that I always had dinner with my wife before we had kids, and then try to make sure I had dinner with the kids too for the family, because you have to do that. But then I go into my home office and I work again at night. So when you say to me, how much of your success is about work? Almost all of it, because I understood there are no shortcuts, or I would have found one. And I also know that I'm not this extremely gifted guy. I'm like that fourth line center. I'm a mucker. I'm a grinder. I put in the time, and I understand that that's why I have the things that I have. And by the way, I like to work. I've always liked to work. I like the grind. So it's almost everything. I'm a worker to this day. I work hard. And I love it. And by the way, I brought people into this system. It's not for everybody, man. Some people come to work for us and are like, dude, we have never, ever worked like that. And some embrace it and some can't hang and they get weeded out. But the people who work, I'll give you an example of a guy who's both, and a guy you probably know. A guy named Kyle Brandt worked for me for a number of years. He's on the NFL Network now. Extremely talented guy. Went to Princeton, super good looking, super charismatic, extremely quick. But the guy was a bleeping warrior for me. Worked so hard. So to answer the question, I should have been quicker about it. We work. We grind, dude. We work. We grind. And I pride myself in, we are a well-oiled machine and we put in the hours. We just do.
I was about to say to you, Jim, and you took the word right from my brain, is that you could see the twinkle in your eye. Like you take pride in having to do the work or getting to do the work because you're not necessarily the most talented. You know who else has that trait? Tom Brady.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Tom Brady's a perfect example. A sixth round draft choice who just so happened to be the greatest of all time because he had the greatest process of all time, the greatest discipline of all time. Now, he ended up with a great head coach too. And that's a whole one of those famous sports debates, the coach of the quarterback, the coach of the quarterback. And I'm going to say the answer to that is yes, it's both. It's both. But Tom Brady is a perfect example because if you see this guy at the combine, there was really nothing significant about him other than his mind. Dude, his mind is unbelievable. His heart, his grit, his attention to detail, his passion, his work ethic, his drive, his consistency, his ability to connect with others, his leadership. Yeah, man, these are not God-given talents. He developed all of that.
Yeah.
And never stopped working.
Yeah. This is awesome. Straight up.
It's amazing.
This is so much fun. We'll end the plane with this one. I'm so excited to ask you this. I was skeptical for years about the law of attraction, the quantum, all that stuff, because it was beyond my senses. It took that tumor situation, which you know about, where I had the surgery. I was on crutches all while I was training for the marathon. And I didn't have the physical capacity to run. I was still on crutches. And I said to myself, if I'm ever going to buy into this quantum stuff, to this energy stuff, this law of attraction, it would be now. And I went down the rabbit hole. This wasn't so long ago. It's about 6 or 7 months ago. I can't talk about this stuff enough. Just the power of intention, the fact that we are a soul and a spirit having a human experience, infinite potential out there, all this stuff. For the first time in my life, I'm experiencing real-time manifestations. You can tell how excited I am about it. I'm curious what your position is on the law of attraction and intention and all that energy stuff.
I need to spend more time with you on this because I'm really late to this party. I am really, really late to this party because I got to admit, I was not three-dimensional in my thought. I just was like, put your head down, grind, put your head down, grind.
Damn.
And then treat people well and try to lead those around you. But I am only now figuring this out. I definitely buy into it. I don't know enough about it, but I know enough to know that there is something to the universe. And there is something about what you put out to the universe. And there's something about what comes back to you based on what you do put out to the universe. Like we know. I'll give you an example. My wife, Janet, I literally married the best person I've ever met. Who can say that? And every day she wakes up and she has this energy. And it's so amazing that people will be like, nobody's like that. That's fake. Nobody could possibly be that happy, that positive, that upbeat, and so selfless every single day. That's fake. And then you realize it's not. Dude, this is the way she really is. And this is the way she was brought up. And this is the way her mom is and her dad was. And she is the most beloved person in the world, the woman I married, because this is what she has spent the last several decades putting out. And not for any other reason than this is who she is. And this is the way she feels. And it's all come back. There is something to it. I haven't figured out exactly how it works, but you know who you want to be around. You know who makes you feel better and makes you want to be better. And you know who sucks the life out of you. You know who's going to have a bad attitude. You know who's going to gossip. You know who's going to bring you down. The world's hard enough, man. You cannot bring that to the universe every single day. You don't want that. So yes, I don't know as much about it as you do, but I'm learning about it and I believe in it. There's something out there, right? And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not like a super, super, super religious, spiritual person, but I believe in energy, vibration, frequency. Of course, you are what you put out there and what comes back. There's got to be something to it, right?
That's it. And our mutual friend, Eric, I was on his show, Eric Wood, and he was asking me for a book recommendation about this stuff. And I recommended him The Secret, all about the law of attraction. I'd become friends with some of them, had John Asseroff on my show and so forth. And I reread that book after the surgery and I read it. It's funny because you could read the same book at different parts of your life and have a completely different experience.
Well, I agree. Yes. Yeah. Yes. 100%. It's a great point.
Done it with Think and Grow Rich, and I did it with The Secret. And if you're looking for a little bit of an introduction just to get in on that stuff and really start to understand a little bit better, you'll start experiencing real-time manifestations.
I want to tell you something you just said. Sorry to interrupt you. This is so important because I've read the book. But when I read the book, I was not ready to read the book.
Same.
You nailed it. I know, and I know where. Okay, I was gonna say I know where the book is because I had the book in my bedstand for a long, long time in my old house. So I don't actually know where that copy of the book is. But you're right. I know if I pick up that book right now, it's going to hit me in a very different way than it did then because I was not as open or as curious or a believer as I am right now. So the point you make about you can read a book at different points in your life and it will resonate or hit you in a different way is so true. So true.
100%. And if you're interested, I'm sure Eric and myself would love to do a little bit of book club with you in regards to that.
Yeah. I'll do that for sure.
This was too much fun. So much love and respect for you. We got to do a sequel, Jim. There's so much more to talk about. And again, I know I've heard you talk about like what makes a good interview, and you're the GOAT, brother. And I've heard you say before, more conversational. And this was just that. It was just an unbelievable conversation. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for your time. What's the best way for my community and my audience to support you?
No, I appreciate that. You know, like everybody else, you can find me on social media and well, the conversation you and I are having, this is my side hustle to my side hustle. So this is very different. I would love for your followers, your nation to find me at the Reinvention Project with Jim Rome. And like you, wherever you can find your podcast, you should find that. I'm about 40 episodes into that. If you get sidetracked, you might find my day job where I'm talking sports. And, you know, if you're into that, you may or may not like that. But the thing that I would really like for your followers to find is the Reinvention Project with Jim Rome. That'd be tremendous. I want to give you a compliment really quickly. I think that you understand that the best interviews are actual conversations and not interviews. What's interesting is now that I'm in this space, so to speak, I get a lot of, hey man, that is the best interview that I've ever done. Thanks for having me on. Well, I'm like, well, yeah, I've been doing interviews for 30 years. This is what I do. This is where I live. And then a lot of the people that I interview, for instance, this is not what you do. You haven't done this for 30 years. So I've been on the other side of these things now. My brother, you are really good at this. You're good at this aspect of this. So I want to congratulate you and acknowledge that. You are very good at connecting and having a conversation and not looking down at a list of questions because who would follow you? This is not what you do. You're learning, but this is not where you live. So I think you have a knack. You're really good like that about connecting, energy, vibration. So good for you, man. I'm proud of you for that. That is not an easy thing to do. And you are doing very well at that too.
Jim, thank you so much, brother. The best part about all of this, in my personal opinion, is it's just the beginning of the friendship. I want you to know that you're the definition of resilience, grit, heart, and drive, from becoming a sports broadcaster legend to reinventing yourself in your second act. You're a true entrepreneur, visionary, role model, and beacon of hope for anybody coming up to with big goals and aspirations. I could personally guarantee that your best 25 is yet to come. Keep on spreading your wings and making your mark on this world. So much love and respect for you. Thank you so much for stopping by and dropping these priceless nuggets today, Jim.
My brother, love and respect to you. I appreciate the opportunity. I'm glad that you felt that it was worth your time to share with your people, and an absolute blast, man. I'm trying to get better, and this is how we get better, right? We talk to people that we can learn from, and we exchange our thoughts, and this was time extremely well spent. I had an absolute blast, and you and I are friends, and we're going to be doing more stuff, I'm sure, going forward. So thank you very much, man.
I guarantee it. Thank you so much, Jim.
How fun was that?
Fun. That was awesome.
Dude, I hope, you know, because I'm always on the other side of it, it's hard for me to feel like what it's like on this side of it. So hopefully that worked out all right. You know, I just get going. I'm getting fired up, but it felt great to me. I thought that was a blast.
Instant classic. And also it's a cool paradigm shift because you're right. You're always on the other end of it. So it's definitely different.